Okay, we are coming now to one of our main parts and highlights of today. I'm very happy and honored to introduce to you Sister Josée Ngalula from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Sister Josée, please come forward. She is a sister of St. Andrew, a theologian in Congo, and holds a doctorate in theology from the Catholic University of Lyon. She is professor of theology at the Catholic University of Congo and at the major seminary in Kinshasa, and a visiting professor at the Ecumenical Institute Al-Mowafqa in Rabat. Her research focuses on African theologies, Christian lexicology, and translation in African languages, religious violence, and ecumenical and interreligious dialogue. You see already quite a broad picture. She currently serves as director of the Observatory on Violence and Religious Extremism and is a member of the International Theological Commission. Okay, most welcome, Sister Josée.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with you, and I thank you to have invited me. I have been asked to speak about good practices. And I will present these good practices in a form of a charter. A charter because I propose us to listen to good practices as appeals of commitment. Appeals of commitment for us, for me, for each of us. That is why I have presented it as a charter. The perspective I'm talking from is the situations where experts on safeguarding are confronted to intercultural situations. Since Tuesday here, it has been stressed that the complexity of interactions between diverse human culture, as well as diverse levels of culture in the same area, strongly appeals for intercultural approach. An intercultural approach to safeguarding involves adopting attitudes and mechanisms that make these practices relevant in diverse contexts. Relevant here means that they are truly understood, accepted, and effective. We have just heard 10 minutes ago a complaint that people are trained here, get diploma. When they go back to their dioceses and congregations, they are not used for safeguarding. They are used for something else. It means that it has not been understood, accepted, and effective. Experience has shown that what is supposed to be universal, standardized approaches are often ill-suited or counterproductive in certain cultural environments. That was, we have just heard 10 minutes ago, it is ill-suited. The goal of intercultural approach is to reduce the risk of cultural rejection and ensure that policies are centered on the human person within their specific sociocultural reality. The stake of the intercultural approach is therefore to minimize the risks of cultural rejection of some recommended safeguarding practices because they are considered foreign, reality. Yesterday, two of the speakers have alerted us on the fact that it is not good to produce safeguarding policies in offices, in universities, and then bring them to people at grassroots, waiting them to simply implement these policies. It does not work at all. The challenge is to ensure that safeguarding policies are not disconnected from local realities, but are truly centered on the human persons within their current socio-cultural conditions. So, from my experience of good practices, I have been involved in safeguarding practices for 20 years now. I didn't know that it was safeguarding. I have learned the word safeguarding only 3 years ago. So from my experience, I humbly propose 10 essential markers functioning as moral and operational pillars that can help to meet this challenge. I present them in a form of a charter where the commitment is personal. I mean, we don't seek to good practices from outside. We enter in these good practices and we decide personally, with liberty, I will do it personally. I will not delegate someone else to do it for me. First marker, I'm an African, so I can't do reflection without proverbs. That is my pedagogy. So you will learn some proverbs from Africa. First marker, I will cultivate cultural humility. A proverb can help us understand what it is about. African proverb says, if you speak to some people and they don't listen, stop, be silent, listen to them, and you might know why they are not listening to you. In safeguarding practices, we have noticed it since Tuesday. There is a problem, misunderstanding. People continue to do what is the contrary of safeguarding, while they have in their dioceses, in their congregation, a text of safeguarding policy. It means that they haven't listened to safeguarding policy. So what to do? I will cultivate cultural humility. I will stop, listen to them, and it may help me to know why they are not listening to safeguarding perspective. Concretely, good practices that have worked, what I have seen, when people renounce, not them, but me, you, we will renounce. I will renounce. The idea that my own perspective is universal and the only correct one, or that I am an expert in all places and all situations. It's not true. We are not experts in all places and in all situations. We need humility to recognize it. In this humble situation, I will adopt a posture, I will adopt a posture of listening and learning. When I listen and learn, it will help me value the protective wisdom of other culture. We must have this principle. In all cultures, because people are human beings, because people have hearts, all cultures have developed practices of safeguarding because there is love in human hearts. So when I go somewhere, I have to listen, to try and learn in this place, in this culture, in this country, in this village, in this city, what are their practices of safeguarding before I came to speak them about what I know about safeguarding. Posture of listening and learning. In this humility, I will avoid judging local behavior before understand the meaning. We can be shocked. For example, corporal punishment. It's shocking. I am shocked, but because condemning it, I will try to understand, to listen. Why do they have chosen corporal punishment and not everything else? What have happened in the history of these people, this culture, this place, this city, that have led them to such an option? I will listen and try to understand why. After listening, I can condemn, but I will not condemn before listening. That was the first marker. Second marker, good practices that have worked very well in many places. I will value local strength as treasures. A proverb can help us understand what it is about. African proverb says, lift your load to your knee, and people will help you put it in your head. In many places in Africa, people are used to bear the load on their head. When it is heavy, it is not heavy. The person just take it and put on the head. But when it is heavy, people cannot. So many have decided to do it in 2 steps. First steps, I put it on the knee, and second step, I put it on the head. Safeguarding is a heavy thing, very heavy. We have listened to it, we have experienced it, and we have, just 10 minutes ago, we have seen it. It's heavy. Because it's heavy, the wisdom says, do not directly put it in your head. You will collapse. I will not directly put it in my head. I will collapse. I will put it first step on my knee because I have diploma, I have competence, but I will rely on local people to help me as second step to put it on my head, and it will work. In intercultural approach, it means that wherever I go, as a place or as a group of people, even in my culture, my own culture, I will collaborate with existing community protection systems. Wherever there are people, there are dangers. And wherever there are dangers, communities have developed protective mechanisms, protective tools, and protective leaders. When we go somewhere, as a safeguarding practitioner, we will not impose to this community, to this group, our organization. Those who have tried to do it, it didn't work. Those who have tried to collaborate with existing community protection systems, it can be some traditional leaders. For example, we have spoken about corporal punishment. I remember in a village, we went there for a session on safeguarding, and we didn't tell them beating children is not good. We didn't speak. We didn't tell it. We just did we talked them about a story about a chief who were arrested by the police and beaten publicly. Here we saw, I think it was in a nation country where beaten children are put on internet. So, storytelling. An adult arrested by the police, beaten publicly, and we didn't finish our story. One of the elders of the village stood up. It said, it is not admissible. We can't accept it. And you say, why can't we accept it? Beating a human being is a great sin. It's a great sin. Yes, it's not good to beat a human being. So it opened the way to speak about children. Are your children human beings? Yes, they are human beings, fully human beings. So can we beat any human being? It's not good to beat any human being. And we did the conversation, and this chief of the village decided that in his village, nobody will have again the right to beat a child. If we came with a paper, safeguarding policy, and speak them, a safeguarding policy says that it's not good to beat the children, after we will have gone, they will beat the children. But we use people on power. People who are the power in the society that can be understood. So we protecting, community protecting system, traditional leaders, religious leaders, etc., instead of creating parallel circuits that could be perceived as external interference, and so it will be rejected. Third marker, I will adopt the local language. A proverb can help us understand what it is about. A proverb says, words are like a spider's web. For the skillful person, they are a shelter. For the clumsy, they are a trap. in safeguarding intercultural approach. Coming in a city, in a village, in a group of persons, and begin to speak about safeguarding with vocabulary they hear for the first time, it doesn't work. I remember in a parish, I was a session on safeguarding with young youth of the parish. The title was Abuse, because I wanted to comment a text of Pope Francis on abuse. So I begin to ask them, abuse, have you heard about this word? What is the meaning? There were about 50. All of them gave one definition. Abuse is the bad things priests are doing to children in Europe. So it's in Europe, it's not among us. It's about priests. I am not concerned. It's outside our situation. So when we use technical words, when we use new words, people do not understand. It's a trap for them. So in intercultural approach to safeguarding, we will adopt the local language by translating and adapt safeguarding concepts into local languages. If we do not succeed to translate in local languages, the message will not pass. In translating, I will give preference to accessible forms of expressions that resonate within the local communities. I can use image, I can use skits, I can use song, I can use proverbs, etc. And I will avoid abstract legal terms. For example, in a religious congregation, for many years, I have talked about sexual abuse on sister using the vocabulary sexual abuse. And I noticed that people, sisters, do not, we speak about it, people, it's okay. And after that, when there is a case of sexual abuse, the superior refuses to report the case. So I said that there is something wrong about my approach. And I changed the approach. I used the approach of storytelling. And for about 5 years now, when I went in religious community of sisters, I begin with 2 stories in the Bible. The first story is the rape of Agar, a girl of David. She was raped by her brother. So I begin just to read the Bible and tell the story. And when sisters hear the story, you see people beginning to cry. When sisters begin to cry, and we ask, what is the problem? Why are you crying? And the answer is, it's injustice. And the second story is the raped, the raped and raped of a son of a girl of Jacob, Dinah, in the book of the Judges. So they gave me the word, unjust behavior. And now, wherever I go in communities, I don't use safeguarding vocabulary. I use vocabulary of injustice. Unjust behavior that are imposed to sisters out of bad heart. And they speak about situations of abuse of power, abuse or spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, etc. I did a different experience with youth in schools. When I go in schools, when I use the vocabulary abuse, they don't. It's something out them. But in one discussion, I discovered their vocabulary. Their vocabulary was dirty behavior, a behavior that is dirty. And when you begin to speak about dirty behavior, they will give you all the abuse, spiritual abuse, abuse of power, etc. So it's the question of language is crucial. We have to adopt local language of the people, of the category of people, etc. The fourth marker, I will take sociocultural difficulty seriously. A proverb can help us understand it. The child who is on the back does not fear the rain. The child who is on the back. In Africa, mothers are used to bear the child on the back. Here in Europe, I have seen that now you have fathers who bear the baby on the front. So it can be on the back, it can be on the front. You bear the child for the security of the child because of vulnerability. In intercultural approach, wherever we go, we must have these reflex to look for the most vulnerable category in this place, in this context. And we have seen yesterday that one of the most vulnerable situations is the question of silence. People cannot speak. Victims cannot report. Or if they try to speak, they are not understood or they are rejected. So in intercultural safeguarding approach, let's look for these categories and bear them. You can choose to bear them on the back, as in Africa. You can bear them in the front, as here in Europe. But we have to address the imposition of silence or the inability of actual victims or potential victims to express themselves in a suitable way in their sociocultural context. That is why, to ensure that no cultural obstacle stifles their voice, I will invest in finding adapted cultural means so that everyone can express themselves, even without writing. The question of reporting is crucial. Many victims cannot report. So it's the task I have to do is to discover these categories, to discover difficulties, and to invest myself to help them, to carry them on my back or on the front, and reporting in schools, here we learn that reporting, people have to speak and you write and you bring it to the bishops or someone. But some people, they cannot write, they cannot speak. So I will address the question of imposition of silence or inability to express. Fifth marker, I will collaborate with cultural interpreters. A proverb can help us understand what it is about. Wisdom is like a baobab tree. Yes. Fifth marker, wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one can encompass it alone. A baobab tree is very big, so you cannot. You need to collaborate with other people. In intercultural approach for safeguarding, collaboration is crucial. Experience have showed that where there is collaboration with cultural interpreters, the topic and the challenges of safeguarding are best understood. So I will be convinced that these cultural interpreters are the bridges that will help contextualize the risk specific to each environment in terms of culturally encouraged violence. We have heard it on Tuesday and yesterday. There exists culturally encouraged violence everywhere, even here in Europe. So, what do the cultural interpreters? They know the culture. They know how people are reasonings. They know the barriers that people have put in their minds to refuse to accept, to change their cultural behavior. So they are inside the culture. They know the culture. And they can help me as a safeguarding practitioner to dialogue with this culture, with this culturally encouraged violence. From outside, I cannot encompass this problem alone. I must, wherever I go, look for cultural interpreters that can help me dialogue with this culture. I will collaborate with them so that they will mediate to explain the scope of what is proposed in other culture, and also mediate to help local culture to rediscover protective values that are sometimes forgotten. I give an example of an experience I have done with cultural interpreters. Wherever you go about corporal punishment for children, they will tell you it's our culture. And even it's in the Bible. Somewhere in the Bible, in the book of Ecclesiastes, it is said that a good father beats his sons. So they say it's our culture. It's our religion. We are Christian. And in the New Testament, in the temple, Jesus himself, etc. So it's our African culture, it's our Christian culture. So how to do? So I was very discouraged, and I met a poet. He was a poet in the province I was. He said, "Sister, what they said is not true. Because there are many proverbs in our ethnic that says that you cannot beat a child because you are teaching him how to beat you later." So he helped me. He brought 5 proverbs against corporal punishment of his ethnic in his culture. And we organized a meeting with directors of the schools, and we discussed about these proverbs. And they discovered that their own culture asked them not to beat children. So it's a work of cultural interpreter. So it's very important wherever we go to try and discover these people and collaborate with them, because people say it's my culture. I am sure that I know deeply my culture. So these cultural interpreters can help people to discover in their own culture values, safeguarding values. Sixth marker is I will identify local sociocultural power dynamics. A Proverbs tell us that only a fool measures water with a basket. You take a basket to measure water, it will not work. So if we neglect some sociocultural power dynamics, the safeguarding practice and policies will not work at all. It means I will copy this good practice that identify the different social figures of authority, traditional and leaders, religious leaders, but also opinion leaders among youth and women. Today we have people who have great power on the groups. They are not political authority, they are not traditional authority. Mostly among youth and women, we have other kinds of authority. To identify this authority and to work with them, because they have the power to be heard, so the power to convince people about safeguarding matters. So we will, I will, you will, make our best to understand the positive or negative roles regarding local safeguarding practices. They can have positive role, they can have negative role. It is important to identify them and then to work with those who have a positive role in order to proceed with discernment and wisdom in this approach of diversity of culture. Seventh marker, I will ensure the involvement of all social categories. A proverb says that the sun that shines does not ignore a village just because it is small. We are everywhere in our countries, in our cultures. There are everywhere categories of people that are neglected in the society. So, in the safeguarding policy, it is important to organize things so that all categories are involved as actors in the development, popularization, and implementation of local safeguarding policies. When we have safeguarding policies written and signed by bishops, major superior, in our dioceses, in our communities, it's people, we think it's the matter. It's not my matter. So those people will take the text and store them somewhere, and safeguarding policy will not be implemented in religious communities, in dioceses, in schools, etc. So, for implementation of local safeguarding, it is important to work with the category of potential victims or actual victims, and as well of their defenders. In all society, we have people who are shocked about abuse and who have the reflect, spontaneous reflect to secure the potential or actual victims. So we have to include them in our safeguarding practices and policies. Otherwise, it will be text stored in the archives of our church. Eighth marker, I will approach taboos with tact. We have heard that, I think on Tuesday, the question of taboo. Because of taboos, people do not report, people do not denounce, even victims and survivors are forced to silence because it's a taboo. We can't speak about it in our culture or in our religious congregation. So the question of a taboo is very serious. A proverb says that an egg does not dance with a stone. So if you are egg and we began to dance with a stone, you know what will certainly happen. So in safeguarding practices, we are eggs. When we go in other cultures, we are like eggs. We are fragiles, even if we have the knowledge. In our minds, we are fragile because we are not of this culture. So the question of these taboos that shocked us, we must approach them with tact. With tact. With tact is meant, I respect, I will not begin to condemn people. So it's your organization. I constate, I see it, I respect it. But respect does not mean I fully agree. I see it, it's your organization, I respect it, but I will work on it. And to work on it, I will collaborate with local population to find culturally appropriate and indirect language to raise awareness about safeguarding without causing rejection. I see shocking organization, and I say to people that it's not good. It's against safeguarding attitude. People will reject me. And it's happening. It's Western culture, it's not our culture. People reject. But proceeding with tact. So I see, yes, it's your culture, but we can dialogue, we can speak together, and using local people to do this dialogue. So to slowly bring awareness about safeguarding issues. Not we are X, so do not dance with stone. Go slowly with tact. 9 marker, I will secure reporting to make it as a safe haven. A proverb helps us to understand what it is about. The leg is smart. It puts the bone in front and the flesh behind. That is the wisdom of the leg. You don't put the bone in front, because if you do an accident, you see what it is. So you will protect the bone. In safeguarding practices, good practices that have given good results are those who people have used creativity to develop reporting mechanisms adapted to local reality. Reporting, when we use only reporting, people come and say what has happened. You write, or you say, maybe you give a phone number, speak to the phone number. What happens to you? It doesn't work everywhere. So we need creativity. Creativity to develop the reporting mechanism, to create safe space where trust can grow and where speaking out does not put anyone in danger, especially for women and children. I have a case that happens in civil society. It was on television, so I followed the case. It was a father with 3 children between 8 to 11, 3 girls. The father used to rape his own girls. So the girls are used to watch TV. And when we watch TV, we have in DRC a law against sexual violence. So there is a vulgarization of this law in local language on the official television of the state. So these girls saw it, and they discovered that if you are a victim, you can go to the police and report it. So the 3 girls went together to the nearest police and report what happened. And the law says that if you are a police, you have a reporting. The first thing is to secure the victims. So the police station says to the girls, you will not go back home because every night the father does it. So we will find a family where you will sleep tonight, and we will find your father and ask what's happening. So The girls didn't come back home. The police in the afternoon went to this home, spoke with the fathers, and the father says, yes, it's my right. They are my children. They are my blood. What is your problem? So they saw that the father, something went wrong in the head, so they put the father temporarily in a temporary jail before the judgment. The mother of the girls, tomorrow morning. So the girls slept in a welcoming family. The father slept at the police station. Tomorrow morning, the mother and the aunt came to the police station, trying, as African women can dramatize situation, saying that, where are our children? So the police brought the children, and they began to speak out to the children, to the three girls. You are killers. You want to kill your father. Your father give us money to eat. Your father give us money to pay the house. Your father. And they tell to the police, in our culture, you cannot, as a man, take our children in another house without permission of the father and the mother. Me, the mother of the girls, I refuse to give you the permission to protect these girls. So you see the situation. The girls spoke out. Now they are in danger because of the reaction of the mother and the aunt that requested that they must go back home, and the father can continue to do it because it's his right, he's the father. So the question of danger, people reporting that is in danger, it's very important. So the last marker is, I will not trivialize material constraints of basic necessity. A proverb says, you don't throw a stone at the place where you have placed a gourd of oil. Don't trivialize dangers. Don't trivialize difficulties. In safeguarding practices, there are many material constraints of basic necessity. For example, financial precariousness of victims. In some places, there are not even regional phone coverage. And you say that if there is a case, you can phone and report it. But there is no phone coverage in this place. Cultural requirements for parental or marital permissions. That's the example I have given of these three girls. They need mother permission, and mother refuses. So we have many material constraints that make that victims, even if they want to speak, even if they want to denounce, they cannot do it. So we are invited to recognize it and to integrate it in our safeguarding practices. Conclusion. This charter is not a list of frozen rules, but a path of fraternity. It invites us to walk with others within their realities. to build together a culture of safeguarding rooted in diversity and human dignity. Applying these 10 principles helps reduce cultural misunderstandings surrounding Western developed safeguarding concepts and fosters the emergence of an effective protection culture rooted in the diversity of socio-cultural environment. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Sister Josée, for unpacking for us the deep wisdom of African proverbs and what they can tell us about cultural sensitive safeguarding and developing some side poles, or as you call it, a charter that can guide us on the way. Okay, now is the time for some questions. Okay, please be short, precise, and very clear.
Dear brothers and sisters, first of all, I would like to tremendously thank Sister Josée because she was one of my lecturers in 1999. She taught to me, and I'm very proud to see her again today. I concur with Sister when she said that when you go to a new place, I take the case of myself being a missionary priest. You go to a place, the first thing, just to learn the language and to try to integrate yourself in the society, in the local society. I used to be a missionary in Ethiopia for 11 years. And the first day, I met with the Assembly of the People because I was the director of CRS, Catholic Relief Services. I was talking to the people, and immediately they start responding to me with tick, saying, and then I got frustrated. I said, in my culture, this is a sign of a rejection of not to be polite to the person. But I searched after the meeting, the interpreters, as Sister said, and explained to me, they say, in Ethiopia culture, when you talk to some people and the answer is, it means you are most welcome. Your words are welcomes are very nice. And this I can found myself in a presentation. Now my question is, Sister, I would like to take the reality of the communities, religious communities. And this I'm telling you, it's a proof I have daughters. It's a well-lived experience where the formator used to be, with all due respect to him, an homosexual. And the students, among the students, he was dealing with one of the students. And somehow, we consider this like an abuse because other students were not favored. He was only favoring one student, giving money, promotion, go for further study in the special place. But you realize that other students, if they report, this is going to affect their future. They are going to be sent away. And this is what happened. They sent them away to report it against what was happening in the community. Now, when we try to say safeguarding, okay, but try to go down in this practical experience. How can we face such a reality nowadays in our communities when you see that you don't have power and you depend on the superior, and the superior is doing that? If you report, you are going to be sent away. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. It's a very common situation, not only for formators who have homosexual tendency, but all the formators. Abuse of power. As formator, generate other abuse. Here we have abuse of sexual abuse, because if he gives money, promotions, etc., it's a kind of manipulation to gain the sexual favor of the formator. So it's not a free relationship, it's a manipulated relationship based on, grounded in abuse of power. It's a common situation in masculine and feminine congregations all over the world. What is lacking is places for reporting, safe reporting. Because if people, victims or those who have seen reports in unsafe places, they are sent away. So we have to create places of safe reporting inside the church. In DRC, for example, we are, in Kinshasa, we are a group of theologians and canonists, and we have decided to open a house. It's called Centre Tamar, where religious female can come and report safely. Report safely, it means that you report, you will not be judges, and we will protect you not to be sent away because you have reported. So we need all over the world safe reporting places for religious life.
Thank you very much, Sister Josée. There is one, two, three. Okay. See the lady with the black T-shirt first. Where is the mic? Here, the lady with the black. No, first was this lady.
Okay, thank you very much, Sister Josée. Thank you very much for this enlightening presentation. I was taking so much away from this. My name is Katrina. I'm the safeguarding officer at Miserio, a German development organization under the German Bishops' Conference. And due to our requirements to the back donors, also the German Bishops' Conference, all our partner organizations have to have a safeguarding policy. Now, if I show your presentation to my colleagues, the project officers, they probably say, see, Katrina, I told you. It's not culturally appropriate to ask for a safeguarding policy because that's a colonial tool, and we should not burden the partner organizations with a safeguarding policy. This is not culturally what they maybe can use in practical life. So I have my personal answer, but if you're in contact with my colleagues, what would you answer?
Yes, it's a common reaction to say that mostly from organization, Miserio, Michaud, and when they said that we ask you to have a safeguarding policy, people react that they will not tell you frontally, but they say it's colonialism, new form of colonialism, it's Western problems they want to impose us. We don't have these situations on our country or in our congregations. So that's why I stress the question of language and vocabulary. I think in which continent, even in which country, it is, we have this duty, it's a challenge to find our words than European words. Because situations of abuse are universal. Because the human heart is the same everywhere. It can be good, it can be evil. So, abuse situations are universal. So, Europe has developed a vocabulary, has developed a group of concepts to describe what has happened in the history of Europe. I think other continents, we have the same duty to look at the abuses, forms of abuses in our context, and find vocabulary, concepts, and images. For example, before I used to, when I organized formations, trainings for sisters or for priests, I used to use the word abuse. For two years now, I don't use this word. When you begin with this word, they say it's a Western problem. So, for example, as I said to you, when I go in school, I speak about dirty behaviors. When I were in the congregation, I speak about suffering situation. So it's a challenge to create. We have to create concepts, vocabulary that make what we ask for people acceptable. It's a challenge.
Okay, thank you. We go in the order the hands came up. No, first was here our Latin American friend, then here, and then third here. We go first here. We go according to the way I saw the hands.
Thank you very much. I have enjoyed a lot your presentation, and I appreciate your anecdotes and the proverbs you have shared with us. I'm Cesar from El Salvador, and I am curious because when you spoke about a charter, I remember that there is an African charter for the rights and welfare of the child that was approved in 1990. And also we have the Convention of the Rights of the Child, which was approved many, many years ago. But we haven't heard a lot about human rights in this conference, maybe once or twice. How a human rights approach can improve our safeguarding systems in order to make culturally more acceptable, since human rights is a common language that we have in practically all the countries of our world. Thank you.
Thank you. The human rights approach is very important and basic, but it again depends how we present it. For example, in Central Africa, when you go off with the UNA Charter of Human Rights, people don't accept. They say it's Western. It's their matters. It's not ours. That is why the African Union decided to do an African chart. When you go with an African chart, they listen. Because the African chart says, in our cultures, it's basic, it's important, but there is one difficulty for Christians and Muslims, because there is a danger of bad interpretations of the Bible. In many places, people who are Christians have been told that to be a Christian is to abandon your culture. So you come with an African charter that says that in our culture, we are called to protect children, they will say, we are not concerned. What the Bible is saying, we will listen only to what the Bible is saying. So with the Bible, we have a serious problem of interpretation. In the Bible, you have verses that says that you can beat children. And you have also Jesus who says that don't scandalize children. So depending on good heart or bad heart, people will use the verses that says beat and said, yes, God had said you have to beat your child. If you have a good heart, you will say, Jesus has said, do not harm the children. So in Christianity, and the same in Islam with Quran, we have the problem of interpretations. But both Christians and Muslims are this temptation to say that UN Charter of Human Rights and African Charter of the Rights of Children are pagan. We only follow what God says. And what God says is contradictory in the Bible and in the Quran.
Thank you. We go now to the lady at the back, and then we come to you. Yes.
Thank you, sister. I come from Papua New Guinea in the Pacific, and I truly resonate with your presentation. I appreciate what you have presented. It speaks to me a lot, but my question was just answered. I was concerned about when we talk about disciplining children in a culture where we do smack children, beat children, with the intent of love to correct and discipline, as per what the Bible has asked us and our culture. So where does that interfere or go against safeguarding? But you've answered it's in terms of how we interpret. So my question, as I said, has already been answered. It is in the process of disciplining, in the process of correcting, as per the Bible. There are certain cultures like myself, we resort to smacking to help the child. Now, how does that go against safeguarding?
Yes, madam. It goes about safeguarding because safeguarding is about suffering of people. Abuse is abuse because victims suffer. So when we introduce safeguarding topic from the starting point of suffering, people understand what it is about. When you beat your own child, the child suffers. What do you gain from the suffering of your own child? When we ask this question, parents understand. And they begin to ask the question, so what to do for discipline? And then we say to them, you can have alternative punishments that do not make your children be suffering with humiliation. Because it's your own child. What do you gain from his or her humiliation and suffering? And when we speak, when you take the starting point, you saw that the parents and the schools will begin to imagine alternative punishment other than beating and humiliating the children, because they will speak out of love and not out of anger.
Okay, thank you. Here are two voices, first here and second, then here the lot, and then third there at the back.
Sister, really, I enjoyed your presentation. I don't have any question for you, but you touched me. And I'm asking if my presentation this evening is necessary. But however, we can learn also something new. Sister, before you, Tina said Tina's and in her expectations, she talked about safeguarding should be taught in many seminaries. And I can say, Tina, if you are here, let you know that it's going on. I'm one of the lecturers of safeguarding in many major seminaries now. So it's going on. So your expectations are being satisfied. And many seminaries are requesting safeguarding nowadays in Africa, in West Africa. Coming to you, sister. One proverb is say, if you speak to someone and they don't listen, be silent, listen to them, and you might know why they are not listening. Very good. We are talking today about synodality, listening church. Even Pope Leo says that the spiritual listening should be taught in the seminaries. It's through listening to understand the culture. Yeah, when I put into practice, because every culture has what we call material and non-material realities. Among the non-material realities, there's language, belief. So when you go with the intention of condemning, they will not accept. It's true. But safeguarding also, you said it's international. It's not only, it is not only that, it is old as the world. In my research,
sorry, sir. What is your question?
No, my question is that I appreciate her. I've said that it's not only international, it is old as the world. And we notice that even in the Bible, they talk about God as always ask people, vulnerable people. So thank you very much. And I learned a lot about your approach.
Okay, thank you. We go here, and please be short and precise so that also others still can get a word.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Josée. For me, it's not a question, but it's a short testimony, because I am an alumni of RDC, and I've been working with Missio in helping local organizations in writing their own policy. And the testimonies from what Sister said, what struck me most is that writing policy is not, the document is not the most important thing, but the process we did with congregations and organizations. While we start to assess their local realities, we realize that safeguarding is beyond what we expect. So it's really necessary that We have to work with people in their local realities. And by the end, we can see that the process of helping people is an awareness, and it brings more conscience about safeguarding, and it helps people instead of only bringing documents from the Vatican and going from the root and helping people to understand their reality. And we used to say, for instance, instead of talking only about safeguarding, we discover that there is many vulnerabilities, realities that we have to assess in our local context. So thank you for that great intervention.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have now still 2 questions, and then we have to, or maybe 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, first at the back, then here, and then there, and then we need to close. It was the sister at the back, sorry. Sorry, it was the sister at the back. She was first.
Thank you, sister, for your presentation. You emphasized on the culture and the language so that people are able to understand. My question lies on, for example, religious congregations which are intercultural, coming from international intercultural from different countries and different backgrounds. Which approach would you use to help them come to a common understanding? Because we come with our different backgrounds, we have different understanding. So how would you approach this aspect? Thank you.
Yes, sister. There is 2 levels. The first level is each sister on her own. As human being, as Christian, human being in relation with others, it is important to help during the formation and in our Christian spirituality to develop a sensitivity to the suffering of our neighbor. Because abuse is about suffering, making another person suffering from my behavior, my deeds. So as person, it's important in religious life, in every culture, to develop this sensitivity of being attentive to not be the cause of the suffering of other people. Now, as community, the community are always in a place. So as community, we will together from our heart, sensitive to suffering of people. As a community, we will have a safeguarding approach to say, as community, where we live. Where we have our schools and other apostolate activity, what are the kind of behavior that make people, that provoke suffering for other people? We, sister, that's what is called abuser. To be abuser is to make, if you came with the vocabulary abuser, people would say it's not my culture. So let's use the vocabulary of love and suffering. And we will discover that where we are, inside our community, in our apostolate, there are many risks of abuse. And as community, we can take a decision to protect people who are most exposed to this abuse. I have talked about vulnerability. I have talked about safeguarding policy, without using the word. But as community, we must have this common approach as community.
Okay, we had 2 hands here, and then last one, and then we need to close. Okay.
Thank you again, Sister Josée. My question is about the imposition of silence, mostly about abuse, sexual abuse in the family on children. So I really understand the impact of the culture, and I'm also asking myself, where is the place of addressing the case legally? If the child cannot report the abuser to the police, we stay with awareness, accompaniment. I don't know if another child will be able to report. So it is something is not clear in my mind at this place about legally addressing the situation of sexual abuse in the family. Thank you. And I also want from you to share a little bit your experience about how you are handling or how you handle this case about the father and the daughter. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. The imposition of silence is in our families, in our schools, in our communities. Sisters have been told not to speak, not to report in our communities. Not only sexual abuse, but also spiritual abuse, psychological abuse. So the legal difficulty is where the law says that to open a case, there must be a testimony by the victim or survivor. So with this law, victims that are experience imposed silence will never testimony, so their case will never be treated. In my country, the law have changed now. I think for 10 years ago, they have changed the law on sexual violence and said that if the victim cannot speak, an institution can speak. An institution, NGO or some institution, and they have created a tribunal of children, a tribunal of children. And at this tribunal of children, they saw that children not only speak with words. Children can speak with images. He can speak with his or her body. So the law has facilitated the question of silence. So when an adult heard from image or something else that there is abuse on a child, the adult has the permission of the law to report the case and to speak on the name of the child, bringing proofs of the images and so on. That is the difficulty for us in Catholic Church. In Catholic Church, so far, maybe it has changed, I don't know, but so far as I know, when there must be a report for the victim, and there must be a confrontation between victim and aggressor. And many victims, when they discover that there will be confrontation, they go back. Because during the abuse, the victims have experienced that the aggressor he's powerful. And then you take a powerful and a person who has experienced that he is or she is not powerful, you put them together. That's why many sisters during trial, they say, no, it didn't happen. And they say, so you are a liar. She's not a liar, she's afraid. So I hope that in the Catholic Church we will one day have the same reaction as some states who have said that if it is difficult for the victim or survivor to speak, to report, or people are silenced by the culture, someone else can speak on a place. So far, for religious conversation, we have not this possibility.
Okay, because of time, we will take now the very, very last question. And if there are others, you need to go to Sister Josée and talk to her, because we need to see that we get to the break. Yes. So please, the last question that was here, the lady here, and please be short and precise.
Good morning, sister. I'm Lisa from the Philippines. And I just want to be clarified, because as I understand, the safeguarding transcends all culture. So we have to have our own safeguarding culture. Like in the Philippines, we are very diverse also. We have many cultures. In fact, we speak different dialects. My seatmate here, who is a Filipino, has a different dialect from mine. And they also have different, so we are also very diverse. And in the Philippines, there is a region that recognizes before child marriage. And when you say child marriages, that really violates the human rights and the dignity of a child as a person. So we cannot just accept that culture in that particular region, right? Before it was accepted, until the government, the state passed a law penalizing child marriages. So that is what I want to share with you, sister, that I think also safeguarding transcends all culture, that we cannot just tolerate this, even if what you say is that we have to understand, we have to enculturate ourselves to understand the safeguarding policies of the other. But there is a certain, I think, point that we have to also we have also to do something about this kind of cultures that really violates the dignity of a person. Your thoughts?
Yes, sister, that was exactly what I said. We see shocking behavior, shocking cultural habits. It shocks us. But we are called to do things with tact, with wisdom. With tact, with wisdom is what I have proposed, to have cultural interpretation, to have people of this culture who know this culture and who can find the words and the strategy to help this culture understand that they make these girls suffering. You have already a law in the country. So we can use the law. It's the law of the culture. It's the language of the culture that says that it's not good. So you can't say that in my country, in Philippines, girls' marriage is good. Now I will tell you, no, your own cultures, through this law, has said that it's bad. That's what I said, to act with wisdom and to use the resources of the culture to help the culture to accept that this behavior is not good. If there is no law or proverbs or something like that, we can use the language of love. It's universal. It's in the heart of everybody. And to help this culture say that, look at this girl. Do you think she is happy? If you were at her place, what would you feel? Thank you.
Okay, Sister Josée, you see, you can feel your input has provoked many questions and has touched also on many very hot topics. So in case you have further questions, please go to Sister Josée directly. So thank you for this lively participation. I invite now, and thank you, Josée, for your provoking input also.